Cain and Abel, a story of the heart and redemption. After Eden's gates closed behind them and the light of paradise faded into memory, Adam and Eve began their life east of the garden. The world was colder now, harder. But even in their grief, a spark of hope remained. For God had spoken of a seed, a descendant who would one day crush the serpent and restore what was lost. So when Eve gave birth to her first son, she held him close and whispered his name, Cain, which in Hebrew means to acquire. With the help of the Lord, she said, I have acquired a man. Perhaps she believed he was the one. Soon after, another son was born. They named him Abel, Havel in Hebrew, a name that means vapor, breath, nothingness. A fragile name, almost prophetic, as if from the moment he entered the world, it was clear his time would be short. The two brothers grew. Cain worked the soil, tilling the land with strength and sweat. Abel tended the flocks, guiding sheep through green pastures. Their lives were different, but both were men of labor. Both were raised to know the stories of Eden and the God who had once walked with their parents in the garden. One day, they each brought an offering to the Lord. Cain brought the fruit of the ground, ordinary produce, the work of his hands. There's no mention of first fruits or finest grain. It was an offering, but it lacked devotion. It lacked heart. Abel, on the other hand, brought the best of his flock, the firstborn lambs, fat and choice, given freely, without reservation. It was not just a gift, it was a sacrifice, a declaration of faith, a confession of need, a recognition that sin had a cost, and forgiveness demanded blood. Genesis 4:3-4. And the Lord looked. He saw not only what was offered, but why it was offered. He accepted Abel and his gift, but he did not accept Cain, not because he loved one more than the other, but because true worship begins in the heart, not in the hands. Abel's sacrifice was made in faith, honoring the pattern God Himself had set when He clothed Adam and Eve in garments of skin. But Cain's offering, it was made on his own terms. He brought what he wanted, how he wanted, without regard for grace or atonement. Cain burned with anger. But even then, God came to him, not with wrath, but with mercy. Why are you angry? God asked. If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not, sin is crouching at your door. Its desire is for you, but you must rule over it. Genesis 4:6-7. It was a warning and a lifeline. But Cain turned away. He spoke to Abel, perhaps with a calm voice masking the storm within, and together they went into the field. And there, in the open countryside, Cain rose up and killed his brother. The first murder, not in war, not in defense, but in a moment of jealousy, during an act of worship. Then God called again, just as He had once called to Adam. Where is your brother, Abel? Cain answered with a lie. I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper? It was the same voice of defiance that had echoed through Eden, the same pattern, a sin committed, a question asked, and a man, hiding from truth. But God knew, and the ground itself cried out. Abel's blood, spilled and soaking into the soil, had a voice. The Lord judged Cain. He was cursed from the land, driven to wander, marked not only by guilt, but by grace. For though he had taken a life, God spared his own. And so Cain went eastward again, further from Eden. He became a builder of cities, but he was a man without peace, a man who brought civilization without righteousness, worship without repentance, religion without heart. Imagine Eve, holding Cain in her arms on the day of his birth, whispering, I have acquired a man, the Lord. But now, her son had become a killer, and the promise still remained unfulfilled. Abel was dead. Cain was banished. The first family shattered. But even then, the story was not over. For the blood of Abel cried out for justice, but it would not be the last blood to speak. One day, another son would come, another lamb. He too would be innocent. He too would be slain. But his blood would not cry out for vengeance. It would cry out for mercy, and it would speak a better word.